Finn has opened up the new year with a very intriguing teaser, so we'll see what's that about. We'll also check out what's up with Becky Lynch, a main roster call-up theory, and more. Starting things off with Finn and the big conversation he just started up. Finn was interviewed during one of the breaks on the December 29th edition of Raw, and he delivered a very impactful speech. These commercial break interviews are usually not that important and don't contain much story material most of the time, but that was the case with Finn's interview. Finn reflected on the rough year that 2025 was for the Judgment Day. He talked about the injury bug that has affected them pretty much all year long. Liv Morgan went down and missed half the year. Dominic is now hurt, and JD is on the shelf as well. Finn said it was definitely a down year for the Judgment Day in 2025, but he doesn't expect that streak of bad luck to follow them into the new year. Finn also reflected on his prior history with NXT in Orlando, which just so happened to be where Raw was at for this episode. Finn said that he put the entire NXT brand on his back during his days in Orlando and really took that brand into the future. Finn noted that despite the Judgment Day not having any true leaders, he wants to apply that same thing to how he carries himself in 2026. He wants to put the Judgment Day on his back in the new year and carry them into the future so they can be successful again as a group. Finn even went as far as to promise that he will bring back championship gold to the Judgment Day in 2026, which did get a nice amount of cheers from the crowd. And that's probably the biggest part about this conversation right here with this Finn interview. The way Finn spoke, his mannerisms, his NXT callbacks, and his overall demeanor, it was all giving off serious babyface vibes. He wasn't speaking in a heel tone, it was a very babyface sounding promo, and the live crowd absolutely ate it up and was cheering Finn by the end of the interview. So that was a big topic that fans were discussing coming out of that interview. Is it safe to assume that Finn will be a babyface in 2026? Maybe not right off the bat, maybe he will go through a transition arc, but that interview just had a strong babyface tone to it that everyone quickly noticed. Finn had not been a babyface in a handful of years. He turned heel when he first joined the Judgment Day back in mid-2022, and has been in that role ever since. So nearly 4 years as a member of the Judgment Day, and 4 straight years as a heel. That does have fans even more convinced that 2026 could be the year where we see Finn come back over to the good side. He has been a heel for a mighty long time, and his interview definitely revealed the potential that Finn can still have in the babyface role. So that may be something that they strongly consider in 2026. The other part of the conversation is the fact that Finn promised to win gold and bring it back to the group in the new year. Finn didn't specifically mention what title he was planning on going after, so that was also left a bit ambiguous. Could he be talking about the World Heavyweight title? It's a stat they featured a few years ago during his program with Seth Rollins, but Finn has never really held a main roster world title. Technically in the history books, he did hold one since he was the inaugural Universal Champion in 2016. But due to injury reasons, he had to give up the title less than 24 hours after winning it. A lot of fans thought Finn would return from injury a few months later and take back that Universal title, but here we are now 10 years later and Finn never got his world title back. So it's an injury and event in his career that has really been hanging over Finn's head. And he did touch on this a few years back during that program with Seth, how he was robbed of being a world champion and how it's something he always wanted ever since that injury took place. So for the 10-year anniversary of that devastating injury that Finn suffered back in 2016, maybe Finn could lock in his focus on trying to win the World Heavyweight title again. Although that sounds great and sounds like a fun direction for Finn in 2026, it seems a little unlikely because the world title scene is a bit crowded at the moment. You got CM Punk as the current World Heavyweight Champion. Then you have Braun Breaker, who appears to be getting groomed to hold the world title sometime in 2026. And you also have Seth Rollins, who will be coming back from injury soon, and would also want his title back, so it's hard to figure out where Finn will fit into there and how he could win the World Heavyweight title in that crowded scene. So that's what makes fans feel like the World Heavyweight title probably isn't what Finn is referring to, because the main event scene is loaded on Raw. The other title Finn could be referring to is the Intercontinental title, which could be a bit awkward since it's currently being held by his fellow Judgment Day member, Dominic Mysterio. Finn said he wants to bring championship gold back to the Judgment Day, and as long as Dominic is champion, that title is technically already in the Judgment Day. So that doesn't make much sense either. Unless Dominic drops the title to someone else, and instead of Dominic winning it back, it's actually Finn who wins the title and brings it back to the group. That'll be a great way for Finn to stay true to his promise and accomplish what he set out to do for the new year. That definitely counts as him winning championship gold and bringing it back to the Judgment Day. Then you have the tag team titles, which yes, they do count as championship gold, but Finn has won those titles a handful of times over the last few years. so that wouldn't exactly be anything new and exciting to see him do in 2026. Telling by the tone of his speech, it definitely sounded like Finn was speaking more about singles titles, so that's what fans are really expecting him to go after here. And the other part that will surely need to be addressed is Finn's status as a character. The Judgment Day is a heel faction full of heel superstars, so if Finn is going to be speaking and acting like a babyface character, you gotta assume that's gonna eventually cause a collision between the other members and himself. We saw a similar situation play out back in 2024, where Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest were babyfaces, but still technically members of the Judgment Day at the same time. And that resulted in Rhea and Damian both getting kicked out of the group on the same exact day with insane betrayals. So if Finn is going to start going down the babyface route, it does make you worry about his status as a member of the Judgment Day. Babyfaces don't belong in the Judgment Day, so he's either going to leave the group under his own choosing, or he's going to be kicked out in the same fashion that Rhea and Damian were, which could also serve as some epic karma for Finn's character as well, if that ends up happening to him. So that interview definitely made it seem like a big year is possible for Finn in 2026. But that does have to be taken with a grain of salt, because coming into 2025 last year, there were all these big reports going around that Finn was set for a major singles push, and nothing ever happened like that for Finn at any point in 2025. So we'll have to wait and see if 2026 will be the year Finn gets himself and the Judgment Day back on track, just how he promised there during that interview. Fans are coming up with another bizarre fan theory that is a bit shocking but fun to discuss. During a recent edition of Raw, Becky Lynch dropped a line towards Maxine on how the issues between them won't be over until she wins. That one line made conspiracy fans run wild with speculation, because the same line Becky used is the same line Jordynne Grace's theme song starts with. So that had fans wondering if that was a subtle teaser for Jordynne Grace coming up to the main roster to potentially help Becky Lynch and be Becky's enforcer. It's definitely a bizarre theory, but it was one that picked up a lot of conversation, since Becky did use that same exact line when she was speaking to Maxine. Would be a pretty insane main roster call-up for Jordynne Grace right there.
But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.